Under the tree sat an old woman with silver hair and wise eyes. The woman looked at Florence and said, "You have been given a great gift, but with it comes great responsibility. Use it wisely and it will bring you happiness, but misuse it and it will bring sorrow." Once upon a time, in the beautiful city of Accra, Ghana, there lived a beautiful woman named Florence. She lived in a small dusty apartment in a busy part of the city. Every day she woke up early, swept the floor and prepared herself for work. But despite her efforts, nothing seemed to go right for her. She worked as a saleswoman at a local market, selling clothes. Her shop was small and customers rarely came. Sometimes she would sit for hours without selling a single item. Her friends, Mary and Kendra, were once close to her, but they slowly drifted away. They had found better jobs, richer friends, and successful suitors. Florence, on the other hand, remained stuck. Florence's misfortunes didn't end at work. She had been in love with a man named Ken. Ken was kind, handsome, and popular among the women in the area. Florence believed they were meant to be together. However, when she confessed her feelings to him, he rejected her. He told her he didn't want to be with someone who had nothing to offer. The words cut deep into Florence's heart, and from that day on, she felt even more alone. Other suitors like Kunle and Femi also kept their distance. They whispered among themselves that Florence was cursed, that bad luck followed her wherever she went. Soon, no one wanted to associate with her. Even Mary and Kendra stopped visiting. Florence was left in complete loneliness. One day, as Florence sat outside her shop, watching people walk by, a strange man approached her. He was unlike anyone she had seen before. His skin was pale, his hair was light, and his eyes were the color of the sky. He introduced himself as John, an American traveler visiting Ghana. John asked Florence if she could help him find some traditional Ghanaian clothes. Though surprised, Florence agreed and led him to her shop. To her amazement, John bought several items without haggling. He paid her with crisp notes and even gave her extra money, saying it was for her kindness. Before leaving, John handed Florence a small ornate box. "This is a gift for you," he said with a warm smile. Florence hesitated, unsure if she could accept it, but something about John felt different, almost magical. She took the box and thanked him. That night, Florence couldn't stop thinking about the box. What could be inside? She finally decided to open it. As she lifted the lid, a bright light filled her small room. Inside was a shimmering stone, unlike anything she had ever seen. It was glowing with a soft golden light. The next morning, Florence woke up feeling different. She felt lighter, happier, and full of energy. She walked to her shop with a bounce in her step. When she arrived, something strange happened. People started coming to her shop. At first, it was just one or two customers, but soon there were crowds. Florence couldn't believe her eyes. Everyone wanted to buy from her. Her clothes were selling out, and she had to order more stock. Word spread about her shop, and it became the most popular in the market. For the first time in years, Florence felt like her life was turning around. As Florence's fortunes improved, so did her relationships. Mary and Kendra, who had abandoned her, suddenly returned. They wanted to be friends again, saying they had missed her. Florence was cautious but welcomed them back into her life. Even Ken, the man who had rejected her, came back, hoping to win her heart. But Florence wasn't the same person anymore. She no longer needed his approval. She was strong and confident. She politely declined his advances, leaving Ken surprised and disappointed. One night, Florence had a strange dream. She found herself in a beautiful garden. filled with flowers and trees. In the middle of the garden stood a large tree with golden leaves. Under the tree sat an old woman with silver hair and wise eyes. The woman looked at Florence and said, "You have been given a great gift, but with it comes great responsibility. Use it wisely and it will bring you happiness, but misuse it and it will bring sorrow." When Florence woke up, the words of the old woman echoed in her mind. What did she mean by great responsibility? Florence didn't understand, but she knew she had to be careful. As days passed, Florence began to notice more changes. The stone from the box seemed to have given her special abilities. She could sense people's emotion, and sometimes she even knew what they were thinking. She used this ability to help others, offering advice and comfort to those in need. But Florence also discovered that she could influence people's decisions. She tested this power on a customer who was unsure about buying a dress. With just a thought, she convinced the woman to buy it. Florence was amazed, but also a little scared. She realized the old woman in her dream was right. This power was dangerous if misused. One afternoon, as Florence was closing her shop, she saw John walking towards her. He hadn't changed at all. He greeted her warmly and asked how she was doing. Florence told him about all the wonderful changes in her life, but she also shared her concern about the powers of the stone. John listened carefully and then said, "The stone is a gift from a higher power. It is meant to bring light into your life, but it is also a test. You must use it to help others, not just yourself. Remember, true power lies in kindness and generosity." Inspired by John's words, Florence decided to use her powers for good. She began helping the poor and needy in her community. She used her abilities to heal the sick, comfort the lonely, and guide the lost. People began to look up to her, not just as a successful businesswoman, but as a leader and a friend. Florence felt fulfilled in a way she had never felt before. She realized that the true meaning of life wasn't in wealth and popularity, but in making a difference in the lives of others. One day, a mysterious stranger came to Florence's shop. He was tall, with dark eyes that seemed to see into her soul. He introduced himself as Malik, a traveler from a distant land. There was something unsettling about him, but Florence couldn't put her finger on it. Malik bought a few items from her shop and then asked if he could speak with her privately. Reluctantly, Florence agreed. In a low voice, Malik said, "I know about the stone. It's powerful, but it can also be dangerous. You must be careful, Florence. There are others who want it for themselves." Florence was shocked by Malik's words. How did he know about the stone? Before she could ask more, Malik warned her, "There are others who will stop at nothing to take the stone from you. Be vigilant and trust no one." After Malik left, Florence felt a growing sense of unease. She realized that her life was no longer just about running a shop. She was now the guardian of a powerful magical object, and that made her a target. Late one night, as Florence was getting ready for bed, she heard a noise outside her window. Peering out, she saw several shadowy figures lurking in the darkness. Fear gripped her heart. She remembered Malik's warning and quickly grabbed the stone from its hiding place. The figures broke into her home, but before they could reach her, the stone began to glow. A powerful force surged through Florence, and with a wave of her hand, the intruders were thrown back. They fled into the night, leaving Florence shaking but unharmed. The next day, John visited Florence again. He seemed concerned and asked if she was okay. Florence told him about the attack and how the stone had protected her. John nodded and said, "The stone has chosen you as its guardian, Florence. But you must be careful. There are those who will try to take it by force. You must use its power wisely and only when absolutely necessary." Florence realized that her life would never be the same. She was no longer just an ordinary woman in Accra. She was now a protector, a guardian of something ancient and powerful. Florence knew that her journey was far from over. The stone had brought her both blessings and challenges, and she had to face them with courage and wisdom. With John by her side, she vowed to use her powers to protect the innocent and fight against those who sought to misuse magic. As she walked through the bustling streets of Accra,